Friday, the withdrawal. A column of hundreds of armoured vehicles headed out of Georgia into South Ossetia and on towards Russia. Saturday, as the dust settles, it appears the pullout is not as total as Russia had implied. Moscow says it's leaving over 2,500 of its troops on Georgian territory. They'll be manning peacekeeping posts like this one to ensure the safety, they say, of the local population.
Russian peacekeeping forces will continue undertaking measures of security in accordance to former Russian obligations with terms of the Treaty of 1992. The Russian side never violated it and never denied it until no other legitimate document is in place. Our peacekeeping mission has to be continued.
In Poti, the port on Georgia's western Black Sea coast, demonstrators called on the Russians to leave. They don't see any distinction between peacekeeping and any other Russian military operations. Nor is Poti in the Russian designated security zone. The mayor of the town said some Russians have left, but there are still some here in Poti. They must go as soon as possible. To the east, in the Georgian town of Gori, residents were returning to their homes, abandoned when the Russian soldiers arrived 2 weeks ago. The tanks have gone, but not far, and the fear has barely subsided.
This is the Russian solution to the conflict in Georgia. Russian tanks permanently dug in on Georgian soil. Before the conflict, Russia's peacekeepers mostly kept to the separatist territory of South Ossetia. Georgia shared the peacekeeping duties there too, but now Russia insists the existing agreement allows them to base troops in a buffer zone around South Ossetia. This is where that buffer zone ends, around 15 kilometres or 9 miles inside Georgia. Here, Russian soldiers stop every vehicle and question every person who wants to pass. They say they're looking for drugs and weapons, but this is more than just a checkpoint. The Russian soldiers have told us that unlike their old peacekeeping posts around South Ossetia, this one is heavily fortified and designed to hold off against a Georgian attack. It sits just 7 kilometres up the road from the major Georgian town of Gori. Georgia's government wants these soldiers to leave with the rest of the Russians who pulled out Friday. So do the locals, who must now live next to them. This Georgian man says, for some, Russian soldiers are peacekeepers, but for us, they are an occupying force. But in South Ossetia's capital, Tskhinvali, where locals say Georgian shells did all this, the Russian peacekeepers' new efforts are appreciated. Russia is the greatest country, says this man, and every Russian soldier is a great man. Russian soldiers say Georgia's artillery attacked Tskhinvali from this site to the south of the town, and they say the buffer zone is now being enforced to ensure South Ossetia never falls within range of Georgia's guns again. Phil Black, CNN, near Gori, Georgia.
The quayside at Batumi, the US Navy has landed in Georgia, and they're making sure the world hears them coming. The USS McFAUL is here to deliver humanitarian aid to distribute across the country to the tens of thousands of Georgians displaced during the fighting.
And we really are here on a humanitarian mission. The focus of this mission may not be one of our primary missions, but it certainly is the primary focus of the current mission of providing humanitarian assistance to the folks here in Georgia.
But this is no ordinary freight ship. It's a Navy destroyer, and the symbolism of this show of force is lost on no one, least of all the Russians, whose troops are stationed just an hour away from here. And tensions are building At this village in western Georgia, clashes between local protesters and Russian troops. For 2 weeks now, Russian forces